They buried her with the baby, but at midnight, the grave started crying. That was the warning whispered in Ihiala, though no one yet knew it applied to Adanna. From the moment she opened her eyes, she demanded the world, yet offered nothing in return. Her mother, Mama Ihiala, loved her more than life itself, and every morning, she bathed Adanna as though she were still a child, even when she was old enough to stand on her own. The villagers shook their heads. This girl will never walk her own path, they murmured. But Adanna's eyes sparkled like sunlight on river water, and she believed beauty was power enough. From dawn to dusk, Mama Ihiala did all the work. She swept the compound, fetched water, cooked meals, and even scrubbed Adanna's clothes herself. When neighbors warned her that spoiling the girl would ruin her future, Mama Ihiala laughed, "She is my only child. She must enjoy life. But indulgence has a price." Adanna's laziness grew like a creeping vine, silent but strong, entwining every corner of her life. She never swept, never cooked, never even washed her own hands properly. Yet every man in the village looked at her and admired her beauty, blind to the warning that would soon roar. It was in the market that Obinna saw her for the first time. Heads turned as Adanna laughed beneath the shade of a mango tree, unbothered by the work waiting at home. Obinna, a man of order, discipline, and sharp ambition, felt his heart tighten. The villagers warned him, "She is lazy. Do not marry her." But Obinna believed he could teach her. He approached Mama Ihiala with a confident smile, and she cried tears of joy, thinking her daughter's future was secure. The drums began to beat for a wedding none could forget. On the day she walked into Obinna's house, Adanna sat like a queen while women cooked, swept, and arranged chairs around her. She did not lift a hand, and whispers trailed her like shadows. She would disgrace him, the neighbors said. Obinna ignored the murmurs. He believed in love, in patience, in the power of change. But patience, like a candle in the wind, flickers when faced with relentless neglect. Within days, the sweet illusion of marital bliss began to crack, and the house of dreams slowly turned into a chamber of filth and silence. The first morning, Obinna returned from his shop tired, hoping for a meal and warmth. "Adanna, what is for breakfast?" he called. There was no answer. He entered the house to find her lying on the bed, claiming exhaustion while the kitchen reeked with old food. Plates piled up like towers of shame. The smell of neglect clung to every corner. He sighed, trying to reason. "This is your home now. You must care for it," he said, gently. She rolled her eyes and replied, "My mother always did it. Why should I?" Days passed, weeks turned into a month, and nothing changed. Children avoided the house. Neighbors whispered as they passed by, pinching their noses. The once bright Adanna became cloaked in dirt and laziness. Obinna tried buying food, cleaning himself, even smiling at her slothful ways, but each attempt only highlighted her refusal to act. A shadow of despair grew in him, a quiet, gnawing fear. If beauty alone could not save a marriage, what would? And then, the day came when hope itself faltered. Obinna left, silently, leaving only a note and the cries of an innocent child behind. Adanna woke to an empty house, the quiet so loud it pressed against her ears. "He will come back," she whispered at first, laughing through fear. Days passed. Weeks stretched into despair. No food came, no letters arrived, no footsteps at the door. The reality struck her like lightning. She was alone, with her baby, Chijioke, and no skills to survive. Hunger clawed at her belly. Dirt clung to her skin. Shame settled on her shoulders like a heavy cloth she could not shake. She returned to her mother's home, dragging herself through whispers and laughter from villagers. Mama Ihiala looked at her daughter in shock, at the dirty clothes, the crying child, and the stench of neglect. Tears filled her eyes. I raised you wrongly, she admitted. I thought love alone could protect you, but I have destroyed your future. Adanna's heart twisted with guilt, with grief, with the terrifying realization she had nowhere to hide from the consequences of a life spent avoiding effort. Mama Ihiala called Adanna under the mango tree, the early sun cutting sharp shadows across the earth. From today, you do everything yourself. No help. No excuses, she said. Hunger roared in Adanna's belly, yet fear gripped her heart. Cooking was foreign. Sweeping was painful. Washing Chijioke's clothes seemed impossible. She burnt rice, spilled water, and cried through the trials. Each failure cut deeper than hunger. The neighbors watched, some mocking, some curious. But Mama Ihiala stood firm, the fire of discipline blazing in her eyes. Then came Aunt Nkiru, who ran a small food stall in Ihiala. She tested Adanna's skills, offered guidance, and demanded effort. Adanna's hands trembled, her back ached, but slowly, she learned. Every burnt pot, every spilled grain was a lesson. Every failure taught patience, perseverance, and humility. By evening, Adanna returned home, exhausted yet alive with something new, pride. She slept that night with a sense of purpose, a feeling she had never known, as if the ghost of laziness were finally banished. Each morning, Adanna woke before sunrise, sweeping, bathing, feeding Chijioke, and preparing for the food store. The work was harsh, the customers impatient, and the whispers of the village sharp like knives. Look at her now, the lazy girl serving food, some mocked. But Adanna endured. The smell of clean firewood, warm meals, and freshly swept floors replaced the stink of neglect. Every day was a battle against old habits, a war waged silently in sweat and courage. Weeks passed. Her hands grew steady. Her cooking improved. Her cleaning became meticulous. Chijioke thrived under her care. The village noticed. The laughter turned to admiration. Customers returned, drawn not only by her food but by the visible change in her spirit. Slowly, the girl who once could not lift a finger became a woman respected and relied upon, a symbol of discipline forged in the fires of hardship. One evening, Aunt Nkiru handed Adanna a small envelope. Inside was her starting capital. You have worked honestly. Now it is time to stand on your own, she said. Adanna fell to her knees, tears streaming, gratitude filling her chest like rain after a drought. She used the money to open her food store, New Dawn Kitchen, and each dish she served carried the weight of her lessons. Customers came, first few, then many, drawn by skill, kindness, and determination. Her success transformed her life. She no longer depended on anyone. Her home was clean, Chijioke healthy, her heart strong. The villagers, who once mocked her, now whispered in awe. Is that Adanna? They asked, seeing a woman transformed by effort, patience, and courage. Adanna had learned the power of discipline, the reward of work, and the strength born from facing one's failures head-on. One afternoon, a familiar voice called her name. Adanna froze. It was Obinna. His eyes widened at the woman before him. She was clean, confident, efficient, and full of life. Is this really you? He asked, disbelief and wonder mixed in his voice. Tears filled Adanna's eyes. Yes, she whispered. He saw Chijioke, the thriving child, and the bustling food store. Obinna understood the depth of her transformation and the lessons that hardship had carved into her. They spoke long under the mango tree where shame and rebuke had once ruled. Obinna admitted he had left to preserve his own spirit, not because love had ended. Adanna confessed her blindness, her dependence, her failures. Silence fell between them, heavy but sacred. Hope sparked quietly, tender yet strong. They understood that the past could not return, but a new chapter could begin, built on respect, effort, and shared responsibility. Obinna returned not to reclaim control, but to encourage, to support, to witness the strength she had forged. Together, they planned a new life. The marriage, once broken by laziness and neglect, now grew on a foundation of discipline and mutual respect. Adanna continued to expand her business, employing young girls from the village and teaching them the lessons she had learned. Her home became a place of peace, learning, and dignity. The villagers watched, their whispers now praise. Women came for advice, young girls for guidance, and children ran to her without fear. Adanna had become more than a wife or mother, she had become a living lesson. A proof that beauty without effort is hollow, that love without work is fleeting. The mistakes of the past lingered only as shadows to illuminate the strength she now carried. One evening, Adanna spoke to a group of young girls, her voice steady, eyes shining in the firelight. She told them her story, the laziness, the shame, the abandonment, and the hard-earned transformation. Beauty without responsibility is emptiness, she said. Love without effort cannot survive. No one becomes great by being lazy. If you want respect, first respect your duties. Her words echoed in the night, carried by the wind, felt by the children who would not forget. Adanna looked at her husband, her child, her bustling store, and her clean, orderly home. She smiled because she knew that every hardship had been a teacher, every failure a step toward strength. Her story was complete, but the lesson lived on. And now, tell me, if you faced a life where everything was given to you, would you rise like Adanna, or remain trapped in comfort's chains?